What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Chewin the Rag. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, Caleb Emerson. How are you today, Caleb?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you coming on. For those of you that don't know Caleb, he is in a lot of different older 80s styles comedy horrors. That story is most recognizable. He edits on a lot of things that you might be familiar with, including Tosh Point oh. Somebody that I definitely didn't think I would be talking to ever, but I'm definitely glad you're here for sure. So the first thing that I gotta ask is why horror? Like, what stuck out with horror? Why did you start with horror?
I started getting into horror when I was probably like 11 or 12. My brother used to have like sleepover parties. He's 3 years older than me, and he used to have sleepover parties, and he would always fall asleep. And I would like sneak downstairs and stay up with his friends and watch stuff that I probably shouldn't have been watching, and that I think that something felt not forbidden, but something I was like, I'm 11, I probably shouldn't be watching this, but no one knows. So and I just kind of got hooked on it ever since then. I like
Yeah,
I like stuff that's gross looking, not even where something gross is happening, but stuff that just looks gross and looks slimy and people who you wouldn't really want to be hanging out with. Miscreants, fleas, and slime. I don't know. It's all just been very appealing to me my whole life.
yeah, no, I mean that's really what it comes down to. There's like people think it's like the gore, like the blood. No, it's not even just the blood. I don't need the blood. The blood's great.
Yeah, I love I
See the
love I
blood,
love
but
gross and blood, but no, it doesn't need it.
but no, it doesn't need it at all. It's all these, like you said, slime, just things that will turn people off. The perverse things, the amount of like I don't know, even just breasts that you'll see in a horror movie in the opening credits. It's like,
Sure.
especially the older ones, the Lloyd,
Yeah,
Lloyd. Um,
I love movies where
always,
everyone looks sweaty and everyone looks
you
uncomfortable. I don't know.
know,
I think that's
in this
what
history
what first turned me on to like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I remember watching the first Chainsaw Massacre on VHS when I was a kid and just thinking, oh God, everything just looks like it smells and everyone looks so uncomfortable and they must be they all just look like they want to shower, and I sort of like that about it.
yeah, they just what goes into it. I was watching. So what brought me to you, thinking that I could even have a conversation with you, I watched Teddy Told Me to not too
Okay.
long ago. I was posting like a movie review on TikTok, or it was a TV show. It was the Creep Tapes on TikTok. I was just talking about it and how it was comical and there was horror to it, and that's what I like. I like the horror comedies. I'm really into those. And Michael Shields messaged me. He said, "Hey, if you like that and you like that style, check out Teddy Told Me to." And I was like,
Okay.
"Okay, so check that out." And then I asked him, I was like, "Why don't you come on the pod and talk to me about it?" And he agreed. And I was like, "I can do that. I can just watch a movie." And then I'll sit there and I go, who can I? And then I was like, Poltergeist. Let's watch Poltergeist. My wife's gonna hate it. Let's put that on. So I put that on, and you play my favorite character in
Oh,
Poltergeist.
thank you.
So so I was like, the night we were watching it, and I put it on to introduce her, and I got the reaction I thought I would. I sent you that email that same night, and I was like,
Yeah.
let's just see what happens. Let's see if we can get Caleb on here to have this conversation because, like I said, you play my favorite character in that movie. I love that movie a lot, actually.
I wish I had most of my stuff that I kept from that movie, like the props and costumes, are
Yeah.
all at Tom's museum. Tom, who directed Teddy Told Me to. He has
Yep.
the Monster Museum. He's one of my best friends. And when he set that museum up, he was putting a bunch of Poultrygeist stuff that he had from doing the effects on it. And I was like, I have a bunch of shit. I have eggs and boxes and my shirt
Oh
and
no
a
shit.
bunch of stuff. And yeah, Tom has all that. Last time I was there, it was hung up in like a glass case. I don't know if it's still on display, but if it is, you can see some of my Poultrygeist stuff there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tom. I like Tom's work. I actually Same thing. I had to DM Tom the other day because I watched Las Vegas Frankenstein,
Yep.
and
Oh, I'm in that too.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But I watched that, and I was just like, I really liked the set of it. I really liked the little details, like the biker cut had the 1313 FX on the cut.
Yep.
And the thing that stuck out to me was the chase, that big chase scene. And I was like, this doesn't look like a blocked off road. This looks authentic. This looks like a guy with a camera chasing the monster through the strip. So I actually
I'm sure it was. I'm sure they just went and did it.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. So I DM Tom and I go, I gotta know, this is really nerdy. I'm sorry, but like for that scene, did you have? He goes, no permits. We did it completely guerrilla. We had one camera on the monster and one camera on the people chasing him, and every reaction and everything in that was authentic. And I was like, holy shit! It's like things like that. And your character in that movie was the voice you did. Was that improv or was that directed?
No, I don't think I was directed at all. I edited Teddy Told Me To for Tom, and that was his first movie, and he said, like, what can you tell me? Like, can you give me, you edited this. This was my first time. What did I do wrong? Like, what did I do better next time? What advice do you have to me as a director? Because you've directed movies and you've edited movies. What should I do to make my next one better? And I said, you should fucking put me in it is what you should do. Why am I not in this movie? And he was like, well, you're in LA and it's Las Vegas. And I was like, you think I wouldn't have driven to Las Vegas to be in your first movie? And he was like, okay, next one, you're in it. So, what was your question? Oh no, I was just doing a stupid voice, for fun. I tried it out on set and everyone laughed. So I said, all right, I'm going for that. I think I was putting together my costume. He said, can you just wear a black suit? And I said, yeah, I've got a black suit. And I said, hey, can I wear an ascot? And he said, you better wear a fucking ascot. And I went, you got it. So I brought my own ascot and just started doing. And I think I was there the first. I had to go twice for Las Vegas Frankenstein. The first suit, like my real scene was not second unit, but it was done after the majority of the movie had been shot. But the first scene was like at the big club, and he's like, I hate to do this, but I need you for like one line, and then we'll shoot your whole scene in a few weeks. So I went to Vegas to do just one line. I forget what part it was, and I just did it in this really stupid voice, like in the run through. And Tom thought it was funny, so I just stuck with that.
No, that's awesome. And it's something that Michael that I was talking about. I asked him, like, what was that like? Was there a lot of improv for Teddy Told Me To? And he goes, really, for the most part, Tom's big thing was we don't want to do anything more than 3 times. And it was like guided improv. It was, here's what I want you to do to hit this mark. But for the most part, these are your characters. Do everything the way you're going to do it.
And that sounds right.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool to hear. It didn't really surprise me just from what I know a little bit about Tom personally. But
I think Las Vegas Frankenstein was a little more scripted. I mean, like, I didn't improv any lines, I don't think. I think everything I said was scripted, but how I did it was sort of up to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Teddy Told Me To may have had a lot more improv. I don't remember 100%.
Well, that was his first, right? That's what you said. That was his first. That was his directorial debut. Yeah.
Yes, Teddy was.
Yeah. Teddy was. Yep. Which I thought Teddy was really fun too. I thought.
Yeah.
And to learn that it was mostly done in one take, I thought that was awesome. I think everybody did a really good job with that. I enjoyed it a lot. It was kind of everything that I like. It was messy. It was fun.
Sure. Tom's drive and ambition is unmatched by anyone I think I've ever worked with. That Tom told me he was making this movie, and I was like, I don't know if Tom knows how to direct a movie, but if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it, and he's going to put everything into it, and he did. And for a movie that cost, I don't know what that movie cost, not much. It turned out really well, I thought.
No, I think the internet lies, but I read somewhere that it wasn't much more than like maybe 100K, like anywhere between like 100 to 200K.
Yeah.
So that seemed a little low, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, Tom obviously is a special effects guy. You also are a little bit in special effects, right? You did
I
die
did this.
your
I did this.
first movie.
Yeah,
You
I did the special effects for my movies,
yeah.
mostly just out of necessity, because
Mhm.
that movie, Die You Zombie Bastards, was shot in mostly in Rhode Island, and at least at the time there wasn't a huge film community there. I mean, there's
Yeah.
some, but there just weren't like effects jobs around. And when I was in, sorry, truck.
No,
Um,
you're good. You're good.
when I was in school making student films in college, I learned, I got all the books and the instructional videos, and I learned how to do all that kind of stuff. So I did most of it myself in Die You Zombie Bastards, and what I didn't do was done by like I would sort of make it at first, and then my girlfriend and one of her friends did a lot of the applying of makeup and stuff. But I made the prosthetic myself.
Oh, okay. That's so
I
cool to
don't
even just.
Yeah, I don't do that really anymore. I haven't done it since, but in my two movies, I did the effect.
Since I know you do a lot of. You just mentioned like the editing for. You do a lot of editing. You're a printed editor, plenty of
Yeah,
things. Do
that's my
you
job now.
prefer? Yeah. Do you prefer that side, or do you like to be in the films more? Or do you not really have a preference?
I like I like both. I don't like to edit my own stuff. Um, I think I think having someone objective edit your stuff is more makes more sense. But I do um, I like being able to be sort of wildly creative in a controlled environment where I'm just alone in a room and I can just do shit and make stuff up and try stuff, and there's nothing at stake. Like there's not a bunch of people standing around waiting for you.
Yeah.
There's no So that aspect of it I like, but also I love making my own stuff too. But mostly the
That's
thing
cool.
I like about editing is getting paid. I needed a job,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when I
That's
moved to
like,
when I moved to LA, I sort of fell into editing, and I was like, I can do this, and it pays well, and there's cool people, and then I got kind of good at it, and I was like, well, I guess this is what I do now for a while, at least. So for the last 10, 15 years, I've been an editor.
now, this is just like the ignorance to somebody who's never done it, obviously. What I'm not expecting you to give me a rundown of your every day and your 9 to 5 or any of
Sure.
that. But for editing, like what exactly goes into editing? How do you even get started with being an editor, for example? Like I said, I know it's probably a huge layered question, but
No, I mean, how do I get started? Like in the nuts and bolts of having that be your job?
yeah,
Is
well
that
that,
okay?
and then it's like what exactly goes into like let's just say like what is an editor, pretty much, I guess.
An editor takes all the material that's been shot and either under direction or in some cases not under direction, you have to turn it into something. Sometimes you've got a director or a producer who's like, I want this exactly, do this, do this, do this, do this, and do this, and then show it to me. And sometimes that's the job, and sometimes that's not as interesting. Or sometimes it's just like, I got all this stuff, can you make something out of it? And that is certainly more challenging, but I think it's more rewarding. The way I got into it was I moved out to Los Angeles in 2007. I had just finished Die Zombie Bastards, and Poultrygeist was shot in 2005 or six, and it was about to come out. And then I was a camera guy on another feature film in Rhode Island called Splatter Disco from Richard Griffin. And so those were all just being finished up. And I moved out here and I was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. So, I mean, like to make money, to have it, to pay my rent. So my first job I did out here is I was well, the very first thing was I was the DP on a movie that Tom Devlin produced with his wife Lola, and Lola directed it, and that was called Gould Creek. And then that was like 2 weeks, and then I was an extra in like big giant movies and TV shows, because that is a super good job if you just trying to find something to do. So I was on a ton of big shows and movies playing prisoners and factory workers and criminals and stuff like that. And I was like, I need a job though. I need a real job, because this is too all over the place being an extra. Because sometimes you'd work 5 days in a week, and sometimes you wouldn't work for 2 weeks, and it's stressful. And one of my best friends, whose couch I was actually staying on when I first moved here, was an editor, TV editor. And I went to college with him, and he was like, hey, do you remember how to use Avid from college? And I was like, yeah, more or less. And he's like, well, I'm editing this pilot, and we need an assistant editor, and it pays like, I don't know, not a ton, but enough that when you're totally broke, I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. It was like $200 a day or something. And I was like, yep, I can do that. And I was like, can you sort of remind me how to do all that? So a day or two before the job was supposed to start, he took me into an editing bay and just sort of refreshed my memory on the stuff we learned in college. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm an assistant editor now. And that job rolled into another job, and then rolled into another job. And then for like 2 years, I was an assistant editor. And then that just turned into editor. Like when I got hired, I think my first real editing credit, not assistant editing credit, was on Talk.0. I was a assistant editor on that show for seasons 2 and 3. And by the end of season 3, like half of my day, I was actually editing stuff that was on TV. And I was still being credited and paid as an assistant editor. And I was like, can you guys maybe up this a little bit? Because I appreciate the job, but I'm doing more than I'm being credited or paid for. So I still, for like another year or two, I still did the assistant editor duties, but I was credited as an editor. And then by the last like 6 or 7 or 8 seasons or something, I was just an editor. And we had a lot of breaks on that show where we would have a couple months off, and I would go and do other random shows, just like one episode or like an indie feature or something. And yeah, once you do a good job for a few people who like you, you wind up getting called a lot.
Which is that's kind of what you need.
Yep.
The Tosh thing. I believe you had character roles on Tosh too. Well, didn't you?
Oh, I was on it a million times.
You were on. I was gonna say you were on multiple episodes.
Yeah, they would always. It would be one of two things. Either they just came up with some bit the day of, and they would just start shooting it in the writer's room or something, and they would just call me over at my bay and say, hey, come over here, we need you to be in a bit. Or sometimes they would write something, like the Web Redemptions or the things that were a little more produced. They would write a character specifically for me, usually to just like make fun of me, like to put me in places where you wouldn't expect a person who looks like me. We're like, oh, you're going to be this kind of effeminate flight attendant. And you're like, because you're like a big fat guy with a beard and tattoos on your hands. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. And yeah, so I was on that a lot. I got to play a bear once, which was awesome, like at a gay bar. So they did me all up in leather, and I was with a bunch of these big hairy dudes, and I was psyched for that one. That was really fun. And they would have to pay you every time they would put you in a bit too, and they'd have to pay you Screen Actors Guild rate. So that was a good deal. Yeah, and you get I still get residuals for all those. Not as an editor, because the editors don't get residuals, but actors do. So for all those, or even just like when I would do voiceover, I prepared all of the clips that he would play, like the internet clips, and a lot of times they would have like music in them that we couldn't use, or
Yeah,
sometimes they
yeah,
would just be silent altogether. So I would have to build all the audio that goes in those clips, and like half of them, it's me, the voice. Like someone gets hit in the balls, and they're like, "Oh fuck!" And that's me.
yeah.
That's me. That's me.
That's
And
awesome.
they'd have to pay me SAG minimum. Yeah, so that was a pretty awesome job.
Yeah, he's been like one of my favorites. Just like comedians. A lot of people
Yeah,
don't really appreciate his stand up. I don't think they obviously Tosh Boyol is what really set the bar for him and moved him up, kind of skyrocketed him.
yeah,
But overall, just like comedy in general, he always had just one of my favorite deliveries of jokes and
yeah. He's
him and
great, and he's
Justin
so
Timberlake.
he's so
So
uh he's so smart, and he has really great instincts. So he can watch a cut of something and kind of immediately be like, "No, do this and this," and I'd be like, "I don't know," and then I'd do it, and I'd be like, "Yeah, he was right." So
that's awesome.
yeah, he's really good. He's a good dude.
That's awesome. That's cool. The other guy that we got to bring up. We talked about Poltergeist. What's it like to be around just the trauma in general, but Kaufman?
Yeah,
Kaufman seems like somebody who's very like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it this way, and I think just from talk, I can't remember one of the exploitation films or just one of the deep dive things in general, but he seems very like he wants things a certain way, and I don't think people would get that from him when you
yeah,
see him, and he's just very fun-loving, like goofy films and everything
yeah.
else.
He's yeah. I mean, he can be rough on set. Rough in the sense that he really thrives on chaos, and he'll sort of create chaos because I think that that's how he thinks. Um, that's how he makes his art is changing plans at the last minute, and making people work in really kind of rough conditions. And yeah, he less so these days because he's he's a much older gentleman now. I just went out last fall. I played a little bit part in his newest movie that's not out yet, The Power of Positive Murder. And I went out to the set for a few days and got to hang out and just play a dumb little part. And he's definitely mellowed a lot. But like Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie era, Lloyd was only like 50 at that point, and he was high energy, very hands on, did his own camera operating a lot of the time, and but everyone loves it and everyone wants to be there. So it sounds like I'm painting a horrible uh picture of what it's like, but if you watch those like making ofs on all the traumas, you can sort of see
Yeah,
what it's like. He's always like,
yeah, yeah.
and then he'll ream you out like that, and then turn to you and just go, blow me a kiss. Be like, you fucking idiot, you should quit, you should go home, you fucking asshole. And then he'll just wink at me. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't even know what I'm supposed to make of that. And then at the end of the day, he'll come and give me a hug and kiss me on the cheek and go, Caleb, you're the best. We love you. There'd be no trauma without you. And then the next day, he's like, oh, you can't do this. You can't do it. You're not cut out for this. So I think he just, that's the environment he likes. It's just like a lot of movement, a lot of noise, a lot of bodies, a lot of people just kind of yelling at each other. But it's the best.
He seems like he does seem genuinely like an overall good guy. Just from people who, the thing about horror that is so cool is the amount of people you can see. There's no like, I don't know, you can go to Comic Con and maybe see one of your favorite actors or something, but
Yeah,
that's a huge event. Whereas horror, there's like pop ups in a mall somewhere.
sure.
You sit behind, there's these people behind the table, and every person that, you know, posts with him or anything or talks about him, it always seems like he's very approachable, very nice guy.
Oh, he's
So,
totally approachable, and he's so generous with his time, and generous to anyone. who's ever. I mean, I did two movies with him. One in Citizen Toxie was 1999 that we shot it, and then Poltergeist was like 2005 or 2006. So like this is 25 years ago that I did two movies. And then when I heard he was making this new movie last fall, I just called him up and was like, Lloyd, can I come be in the movie? He's like, of course you can. We'll find something for you to do. Just come on out. And I don't think there's a lot of directors you can do that with. I mean, I had to pay my own way, and I got my own hotel and stuff. But yeah, if you've done anything kind for Lloyd or for Trauma, he remembers it, and he's so genuine and generous.
The Trauma thing in general, I think, is awesome. I think
Yeah,
that was such a good idea to just come up with the Trauma thing, and you kind of create. It's like Marvel and DC, but it's not. It's such a small scale Traumaville thing. It's very
sure.
culty. You either love it or you're disgusted by it, and I think that's the way it's meant to be. That's how it should be.
Yeah, and I grew up watching the older ones, like the '80s stuff, and if you had told me at the time when I was 13, 14 or something that I'd be in more than one of these movies someday, working for him, I would have blown my mind. But I got involved with them. I just met Lloyd at a book signing in like '98 or something, and gave him a VHS tape of some short films I made in college. And like 3 months later, I was on set working on Toxic Avenger 4 as a production assistant.
Even me, like just this conversation, right? I said it earlier in the episode. Like, you don't think about when you're younger. Obviously, I shouldn't have been watching the things I was watching, but I had parents who luckily just didn't parent the way they should. So I like that. I appreciate that they did that. But if you tell that kid that you can reach out to people and you can have these conversations in the future, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. What are you talking about? Like, there's no, that's not a thing. And then here we are. So it's not on the scale, obviously. I'm not in a film with anybody, but just having these conversations and reaching out and being able to DM somebody like Tom Devlin, be like, is this really what happened? And he's like, yeah, it was this. It's, oh shit, that's cool. We can do that. All right.
I'm actually seeing Tom's band tomorrow. He lives in Vegas or Boulder City, and I live in LA. But his band is playing at some bar tomorrow night in LA. And I don't know. I'm gonna go see Tom and Lola and those guys. Switch to Fakey is his band.
Yes. Yep. I didn't even realize that was his band. I've seen just posts regarding them from him, but I never really put it together that he's in that until probably the other night when I DM'd him. And to be honest, it was just one of those things where I didn't even realize that was him. I saw him post flyers and stuff. I thought that they maybe just did favors for him, or I know that he's had bands play for him as far as like movies go. Teddy Told Me To, for example. So I didn't know if it was one of those situations. I just learned the other night I switched to Fakey was Tom.
Yep, Tom does everything.
Yeah, Tom. That museum, I gotta at some point just find time and just. I'm all the way on the east. I'm in New York, so
okay.
But that museum that he has is awesome, especially knowing that you just gave him a bunch of shit regarding Poltergeist. I gotta go over there.
He's got a bunch of my Die You Zombie Bastard stuff too, but it's not displayed anywhere. He said I was cleaning out my my parents' house when my dad passed away, and I had like all the shit from that movie, from Die You Zombie Bastards, and some of it's big. And I was like, what am I gonna do with all this shit? I'm gonna just put it in my house. I don't have room for it. And Tom's like, I want to put it in the museum. And I went, take it all. I want it back someday. You can't have this, but you can store it for as long as you want. And I don't think he's put any of it up. But I mean that movie's not very well known, so I don't know how much of a museum exhibit there needs to be about it. I think most of the people going to the museum want to see the full moon stuff and the trauma stuff, but I don't know. Tom's very Lloyd-like in that way, though. Where Tom's like, no, you're a genius. Your movie's the best. I want more people to see it. And I'm like, you need to be my agent or something, Tom.
I think that's just you gotta just have that switch, like guys like him have. If you said it earlier where he's like one of the most driven. If he says he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it. And I think you either have that switch or you don't. You're either
Yeah.
kind of special person or you're not.
I mean, it's a similar thing that I'm trying to think of a way to say it in a complimentary way because I mean it in a complimentary way. But you need to be driven enough to not think about the reasons why, like the practical reasons why you shouldn't do something. Like when you're making
Yes.
a movie, if you sit and think about it too long, like a really low budget movie, you're like, I can't do any of this stuff. I don't have enough resources. And if you think about it and plan it for too long, you're not going to do it because you'll think of all the reasons you shouldn't. And Tom is like that. When he told me, he's like, you know how I've always said I wanted to make a museum? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm doing it. I found a space in Boulder City and I'm making it. And I'm like, okay, sure you are, Tom. And then like 2 months later, he calls me up. He's like, okay, I did it. I have a museum. The grand opening's next month. You should come. And I was like, I'm there. So I drove to Vegas for the grand opening of the Monster Museum. And I was like, fucking Tom, he did it like by himself. And then like a year or two later, he's like, I'm opening another museum. I'm opening Tom Devlin's Dinosaur Adventure across the street where I made these huge animatronic dinosaurs and it's gonna be like a kid's playground. And I went, oh, okay. And then I went out there and he fucking did it. There was like a big empty space in a strip mall and he had made all these giant animatronic dinosaurs that kids could climb on and there were like playgrounds and stuff inside. And I went, good for you, Tom. He's impressive. I think the dinosaur adventure land is gone, but now he opened another museum. He opened an alien museum, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm sure it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. Do you have that's actually a ridiculous thing. It's just it's I put my wife through very similar things, which I think is fun for me and probably very stressful for her. Like again, much smaller scale, but for the podcast, the first podcast I was going to do was probably back in 2019, 2018.
Yep.
And I was at work at my 9 to 5, and I go, I think I'm going to start a podcast. She was, okay. And I go, yeah, after work, I think I'm going to stop and just grab a couple of these. What the fuck are you talking? What are you going to stop and grab? Like, oh, we're just going to grab it. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing. And then I'm like, I think I want to try stand up comedy. She's like, okay. I was like, I'm going to go to this mic tonight. What are you talking about? It's just, I have fun. I enjoy those types of people where they say, I'm going to do this. And you don't sit, like you said, how am I going to do this? There's no way I can do this. You just fucking, we're just going to do it. I don't figure it out later. Figure out the hows. Dive into it. Have some fun with it. What's going to happen if you fail? You're not jumping off a building. You're going to live. You'll be fine.
Right.
Like financially, hurt a couple things, but you'll be all right in the long run. You'll figure it out.
Sure. Yeah, and now Tom has a haunted house too. I think he's had that for several years now, but it's like connected to the same building as the museum. Oh, that was why he made Teddy Told Me To. Because he said, oh, I'm building this haunted house. I've got free access to a haunted house. I'm going to make a horror movie that takes place in a haunted house. So very resourceful.
Yeah, no, that's what Michael was telling me a little bit about that. Because I think that's how he got started. He was working the haunt, and I think he had his own mask or something like that. And Tom was like, "That mask is scary. I want to use that in a movie." And he's like, "Oh, can I?" He goes, "Oh no, you're going to be Teddy," and that's how that whole thing started with him. And I was like, "No shit, Tom is just Tom, I guess. The guy just has ideas and he goes." And I didn't realize until that conversation with Michael that that Teddy stuff was connected to the museum. That was really cool to find out.
Yep.
That was really cool to find out. Do you have something? This is what I was talking about earlier. I had something. Do you have a horror movie? You mentioned Texas Chainsaw earlier. Would you say that is like is that on your all time as far as favorites, or do you have a favorite horror movie, or is it just I like horror as a genre? I can't pin it to one.
I mean, I like horror as a genre, but I could certainly list the ones that I think are the best. I mean, I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Exorcist are probably the two greatest ever made. I mean, that also shows my age. I don't know if those are as resonant to younger people now. I hope they are, but those were sort of the most extreme, not extreme, but like, well, yeah, those were like the most extreme things I saw when I was probably 11 or 12 that affected me. And they certainly stuck with me. And revisiting those now, they're as good as ever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there's awesome stuff going on now. I mean, I love a lot of the new stuff that's being made, the bigger movies and super low budget stuff. I just saw Weapons, that I thought was great. I think the Terrifier movies are super fun. Um, yeah, I mean, there's there's peaks and valleys, but right now I think there's a lot of great stuff being made.
No, I haven't seen Weapons yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing Weapons. That was we just watched Barbarian the other day. I believe that's the same
Yeah,
crew worked on Weapons, so I'm looking forward to watching Weapons.
if you
But
liked
yeah, I think
Barbarian, it's very different. But if you liked Barbarian, like if you liked the sensibility of it, then you'll probably like Weapons.
cool. Hell yeah. I don't like Weapons. We're good. But yeah, as far as like Texas Chainsaw, The Exorcist was the amount of people that want to do The Exorcist without realizing they want to do The Exorcist, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like, it's such a good movie. Like you said, they aged well. But I don't know, I think The Exorcist really started something special. Obviously, Texas Chainsaw as well. But I think The Exorcist really started something special with horror, personally. I think that's probably up on my all time high, the original.
And I love the trashy slasher movies. Tonight actually
Yeah.
was I'm screening I'm projecting Friday the 13th 2 in the backyard for a bunch of 11-year-olds tonight. I have an 11-year-old son, and like a month or two ago, whenever the last Friday the 13th was, sort of recently, like a month or two ago,
Yeah.
they were doing do you have street food cinema or something like that in New York, like they have here? It's like a traveling thing where they set up a huge inflatable screen at like a park or a whatever and have food trucks and they do a movie. I don't know. They have it in,
Something small, like very small scale,
okay,
something similar to that.
they have like a huge one in LA, and it's like a different place every week. It'll be like at the cemetery or at a park or at a
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they were playing Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th, and my son, I mean, he's 11. He's never seen kids his age. They don't seem to care about that stuff anymore, which bums me out. But I said, oh, I'm going to take you to see Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. And then I went and the ticket, it was like $35 a ticket. And for me and him and my wife, I was like, I'm not going to spend $100 to go watch Friday the 13th. So I just told him, I was like, I'm going to project it in the backyard and you can invite some of your friends. So he had a bunch of his friends come over and they watched the first Friday the 13th and none of them had seen it and they all loved it. And I was like, buddy, you know, there's like 11 of these. And I was like, and he was like, we got to watch them all. And I went, we got to watch them all. So, yeah, tonight we're watching part 2 with the same crew of kids coming over. So yeah, I love all that stuff too. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I have a 5-year-old and a 2-month old. Just had a baby a couple months ago. So I'm excited that he's starting to, like, I have the Creep Show action figure behind me. I have a Pinhead one next to
yep,
him. And he goes with me to this. There's an Upstate Collectibles, it's a store name. And they have all this old school vintage horror stuff that people bring in and they buy it off of yada yada. And it's cool to bring him there. And he gets to kind of get a small introduction. I can't show him too much yet because I don't know if he's ready for too much yet. But he gets the small introduction of like, this is this character, this is this character.
yep,
Creepshow, I could probably show him a couple things because Creepshow's not too bad. But I'm really looking forward to having that eventual where it's like, all right, we're gonna watch these, we're gonna watch
yep,
Halloween, we're gonna watch the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Terrifier. We're gonna go through one day and we're gonna watch all these because Dad's a weirdo and you're probably gonna be a weirdo too, just like your brother's
yep.
gonna be a weirdo too. So I'm excited for all of that eventually. You on the east, you did mention Rhode Island earlier. You're not from Rhode Island, right?
I'm from Massachusetts. I lived in
Oh,
Massachusetts till I was like 20, and then I went to college in Providence and lived So I was there 4 years and then stayed for like 5 or 6 more years after college, which is where I made Die Zombie Bastards. And then when I was 30, I think I moved here. So I've been here a while. I've been here like 18 years.
Yeah. Do you ever even think about coming back east?
Sometimes, I mean,
Yeah.
I love New England. There just wasn't a lot of job opportunity for me at the time. I said I kind of want to go where I can work in this field, and I don't know. It's been the last like 2 years out here has been really rough for work. So, I mean, if it doesn't pick up at some point, my wife would move back tomorrow. My wife's from Rhode Island, and
Oh,
she doesn't love it here. I mean, she likes it here, but if I said let's move back to Boston tomorrow, she'd be pissed. So,
okay.
at
Boston's
some
great.
point, yeah. But yeah, I lived in from Gloucester, and I lived in Providence, and then here.
Okay. Yeah,
And I
I
still come
thought,
back. I still come back and visit because my mom and my brother and sister still live there. I'm actually coming back in a couple weeks.
oh, that's awesome. Awesome. The what do you have in the works? Do you have anything personally in the works right now that you're working on? Not necessarily as an editor, but anything that you've got your own projects that you're working
Yeah,
on.
two
Maybe you can
things.
talk about.
Yeah, two things that I've really been dragging my ass on, but I have been working on them when I can. One is a anthology feature film that has like 3 shorts. One of them's done. One of them I shot just as a short like 10 years ago,
Hmm.
and then I just kind of abandoned it, and then I revisited it and re-edited it and wrote 2 more segments that are going to go with it. That actually Tom is supposed to be producing one of those that I was going to go shoot in Vegas with Tom. It hasn't happened yet, but you got to wait till everyone can do it. Um, and then I've also been working on a documentary about Count Smokula. Do you know him?
Um,
He's
no,
he's
I don't
he's
actually.
amazing. He's one of those LA weirdo characters that's just always around at everything. He's in a lot of trauma stuff too. That's how I met him. He's a guy. He's probably 70 at this point, and he's a musician. He's been around for like 50 years. But now he does this character where he's like a vaudeville Transylvanian. He's in kind of clown makeup and speaks with a Transylvanian accent and plays the accordion. And he's always at all the trauma premieres and stuff like that. And he's in a few of the movies. But I became friends with him through various projects. And he's actually been in a couple of my movies that like shorts that I directed. Not as Count Smokula, just as Bob, as a regular, because he's a regular actor too. And I just started to realize that this guy is totally fascinating and has had this amazingly weird life slash career. And been working on a documentary about him. Um, and that's kind of it for my projects right now. And let's see what else. The most recent thing I did was I edited a feature length documentary about a Serbian film, and that turned out great. It's premiering soon, like this month, at somewhere in London. Uh, Not Sci-Fi London. Fantastic, fan. I don't know. Some big festival in London. The Serbian doc is playing, so that's really cool too.
Yeah, I did do something. I didn't know exactly what it was. That's awesome.
That
Yeah.
that was kind of one of those ones where I was saying they just gave me a bunch of shit. Like, here's all this stuff. Can you make something out of it? Um,
Jeez.
I mean, Steven, the director, he had an idea of like what he wanted, um, like what the takeaway from the film was supposed to be. But as far as like how it was actually constructed, he kind of just said I could do whatever I want. And he had one editor take a crack at it, and he didn't really like what they did. and he had another editor kind of re-edit what the first editor did, and he wasn't really happy with that. And he was like, "Can you re-edit what these other two editors did?" And I watched it, and I was like, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'd rather just kind of start over. Not because it wasn't good, but I was like, I don't think it's accomplishing what you want it to. And I think if you give me the time to just really tear it apart and make something new out of it, it could be great. And he was like, I don't have a ton of money, but if you want to, and I said, I do want to. I mean, I think this is a really, I think it's a good project, and I'm proud to have my name on it. So I said, I'll sort of give you my all, and I sort of spent all of last summer editing that, and that turned out really well.
That's awesome.
I mean, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people will be turned off to the fact that it's about a Serbian film, because I know that that's a really polarizing movie. But
yes,
even if you're not, it's not a documentary necessarily for fans of the movie. Like, it's not like the kind of thing you'd see as a DVD extra. It's a standalone feature film. So hopefully a lot of people that may have intentionally not watched Serbian film might be interested to see a doc about it, because they interviewed everyone involved in Serbia, and they had behind the scenes video for the entire production, like 12 hours a day for the however long it took, like hundreds of hours and stuff.
holy shit.
Yeah, and it was all in Serbian, obviously. So
Yeah,
it was challenging, but I think it worked.
yeah, that's got to be something, huh? Because I didn't even think about the fact. Obviously, it's all in Serbian. So for you, who obviously you're not. It's like you got to now go through and edit that.
Well, what they did was Steven Byro from Unearthed. He's the guy who sort of put this project together and directed it. He and Serjan, who is the guy who directed Serbian film, they sat down together long before I was involved and watched all, however, 200 hours or whatever of the behind the scenes stuff, and picked out what they thought was the best stuff, which was about 3 hours of stuff. So they took the 3 hours that they picked and they subtitled the whole thing together, because they were like, this is the most important stuff. So 3 hours of it I had subtitled, and then the other hundred and whatever hours was just stuff for me to use visuals or things where it wasn't important what they were saying. It was more just showing what they were doing. So I used a lot of stuff that they hadn't previously subtitled, and then once I turned in my cut, Serjan watched it and sort of determined, okay, this, I'll tell you what they're saying and you can subtitle it, or like this, it doesn't really matter what they're saying, just show it. So that's how we did that.
So you get the creative freedom, and then I feel like as an editor, you can go on behind the scenes, but when you get the freedom to kind of piece things together like that, then it's like, oh, I'm a part of this. Like,
yeah.
I'm this is my work now. Not necessarily all of it. It's not your work, but
exactly,
it's your work at the same time, which is awesome. I think that's really rewarding. Like you said earlier.
Because if they were just going to hand me this stuff and say, do this, do this, do this, do this, I do it, but I'm like, okay, this is work. This is what I do for a job. So you pay me my rate and I'll do that. But if it's something that I think is a really quality project and they're going to let me do stuff, I will usually, do it for a lot less. If they don't have the money, which they didn't have a ton of money. But I said, you know what, I don't care. As long as I'm actually a part of this, I'd like to do it. So.
That's really cool. And the short films, like I said, I got the Creep Show thing behind me. I really like watching shorts put together. So the fact that you got something at least in the pipeline, I'm excited about for sure.
Yeah,
I'm very big on. I was talking about the Creep tapes earlier.
I haven't seen
really like watching. No, it's really. I don't know if you've seen Creep in general. Creep.
Creep. The
what the hell is it? Duplass?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, I did. I forgot what it
So
was called.
yeah,
I have seen it.
yep, all good. So they had Creep 1 and 2, and then they Shudder did the Shudder original, just like they did for Creep Show, where
Yep.
they did a whole series on it. So that was really cool
That's
to see
sort of
that.
new, right? Like that's like this
Yep,
year. Okay. Yeah. I
last
think.
year, this year,
Okay.
it just
Yeah.
came out
I
really
saw.
not too long ago.
I saw. I think I saw a couple of them.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Those are just another one that's super fun. So just knowing that you have something in the pipeline that's I don't know. I just like when shorts come together and kind of create one long thing. It just gives you different things while you're sitting down to watch one thing. I think that's really fun.
I did a couple I did segments to a couple anthologies that were like that. That were Grindsploitation. Did you see
Yep.
Grindsploitation? I did one of
No,
those.
I didn't get to watch it, but I watched. I didn't finish it. I should say I didn't get to
Okay.
finish it. I'm
Well,
familiar with it. I did start it.
I didn't watch it either, so I can't say you should go watch it because for all I know they all suck. I don't know, but I have a segment in one of them. I think it's the first Grindsploitation.
Hmm.
I did a segment called Hamburger the Rapist, and I was really happy with that. Actually, that was written. Oh, this was weird. My second movie, Frankie and Blunderland, is a very weird kind, super low budget kind of psychedelic movie written written by a girl who I actually met on Poultrygeist. Um, he sent me this script that was fucking bonkers. He was just she was a I met her on Poultrygeist, and then she got in touch with me after and said, "Oh, I never talked to you really much on the set, but I love Die You Zombie Bastards. I wrote a script. Can I send it to you?" And I was like, "I get sure, but why? Like, I'm not a player. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can get this made for you." But she was like, "No, but I love your movie. I want to know what you think of it." And she sent me the script, and I was like, "Fucking great. No one's ever going to make this, just so you know, Marta. Like, no one's like, but I think it's brilliant. You know, you're a mad genius." And then like a year later, I was like, I just got the itch, and I was like, I just want to make something that doesn't cost any money, and I just get all my friends to help. And I called her up, and I was like, "Hey, can I have that script?" And she said, "Yes, you definitely can." And so I made that movie and uh, finished shooting it, and then I said, "Okay, I want to do another movie that you and I write together." So she and I kind of outlined what was going to be my third feature, and then she died, and we never we never finished. I don't even know how far she got along with this. Like, we were going to outline it together, and then she was going to write the script. So we outlined what it was going to be about and like what some of the characters were, and then she went off to write it, and she died. And I was like, well, I guess I could make it myself, but I'd feel really weird because the reason why I wanted to make it in the first place is because I wanted to collaborate on something with Marta. I'm never. I'll just have to put that project away. And then the guys who made Grindsploitation contacted me and said, "Hey, we're making this anthology. It's all fake trailers. Will you make a fake trailer for this thing? You have to pay for it yourself. You have to do everything yourself, and we own it." And I was like, "Great, but sure." Uh, and, and so I just said, "This is what I'll do. I'll make a trailer for the movie that Marta and I were writing and never finished. And I'll only film the parts that she and I had already come up with together." So I did that. So that's in Grindsploitation. It's like, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 minutes long. And Lloyd's in that actually. Um, Lloyd plays like a mad scientist or something. And then I did another one that was the same producers, the same guys. They made one called 60 Seconds of Death or 60 Seconds to Die, something. That's like a whole collection of 60-second horror movies. And they said, "Well, once again, you have to pay for it yourself and do everything yourself. But if you want to make one of these, we'll put it on this this comp. And I was like, great, sure. So I made one of those, and so yeah, I'm in a couple of those kind of anthologies with him.
Like I said, the exploitation one I'm familiar with. The 60 seconds, I think it is 60 seconds to die. I've seen the credit on there.
I also haven't seen it, so I don't know. I don't know if it's good.
I'm not giving a recommendation. I'm not touching it.
I could if you can't locate the complete thing, I can send you the links to the parts I did of it. But who knows? Maybe it's great. Oh, and also I worked on one of the other ones from Grindsploitation, Aramis, Tommy Pistol, the guy who stars in Frankie and Blunderland. He directed a segment for Grindsploitation that I worked on too. I helped out. And I edited his first movie, The Gruesome Death of Tommy Pistol.
Yes. Which I was trying to watch that. I think it was actually last night. It's very difficult to find.
Difficult to find? Okay.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find.
I'm sure I have it on one of my hard drives. I don't think he would mind if I can probably send you a link to it or something.
Awesome. Literally a day or two ago. Yeah. I was trying to watch it, and I was like, I cannot find this anywhere.
Yeah, that was he made that right around the time of Frankie and Blunderland. So I edited his, and he starred in mine, like as the trade-off payment. I said, I'll edit your movie for free if you star in my movie for free, and he said, deal. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we did that.
That's really cool. It seems like everybody, that I tend to enjoy, like yourself, Lloyd, Tom. You guys kind of have a very similar approach in that way. Like you said nobody's ever going to make this, and I feel like Lloyd did that for Matt and Trey with Cannibal the Musical.
Sure. Yeah,
where it was like, hey guys, nobody's going to want this Alfred Dagger movie. And Lloyd was like, I'll do it with it, and then Tom, where he's like, you're working my arm. Come do this movie with me. I think that's really cool that each of you kind of has, and I enjoy your guys' work, obviously, and you all kind of have that same similar thing where it's like, I'll take a chance on this. I'll do this. I like this. Yeah. So that's really, really cool. It's cool to hear.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw Cannibal, I read about it in like Fangoria or something, on a list of like stuff that's coming out next month. And it said Cannibal the Musical, and I said, I don't know what the fuck that is, but it's from Troma. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And the video store that I used to go to in Providence got it, and I brought it home, and I was like, holy fuck, what is this? I have never seen a movie like this. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and I love it. I have no idea who these guys are. They look like they're all my age, which they were like 5 years older than me. This is like while I was still in college. So kind of Die You Zombie Bastards was my Cannibal the Musical, where I was like, okay, I saw that. And I was like, they did it. They shot it on 16 millimeter, and it looks like they spent $100,000 on it. I'm going to do that in 5 years. So that was, Cannibal the Musical was a big one for me. That movie's great.
That movie's awesome. I love that movie. That's another one where people, what do you love about this? And it's like, what do you not love? I don't know. First, I like Matt. I got this fucking butters behind me. I got a South Park tattoo on my leg. Like, I like Matt and Trey already. So seeing their name, and then seeing Troma and Lloyd attached to it, I like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, so I'm just going to throw this on. I'm going to watch it. I watched it for the first time really, really recently, actually. With my wife. Okay. And it was awesome. I was like, I wish I watch this sooner. I don't know what.
Yeah, because when I saw it, those guys were nobodies. Like South Park didn't exist yet, and nothing. That was the first thing that they did, and I just went, "Holy shit, these guys are amazing!" And I remember talking to Lloyd not long after that, and I was like, "What are the?" Oh no, it was after Orgasmo. So South Park had started. It wasn't the humongous thing it is now, but it was like getting well known. And then Orgasmo happened, and Lloyd's in Orgasmo. And I remember I was like, what are those guys going to do now? And he's like, I don't know. They're making some movie with puppets. I don't know what they're thinking. And I was like, and I was the Team America. And I was like, those guys just go for it. He's like, I don't know why why, like, they're at this point where they're getting kind of hot and they could probably do whatever they want. And they're making a fucking puppet movie. And they showed us all. Those guys are amazing. I mean, I don't know. I've never met either of them. I don't know either of them, but I have great admiration for them.
They risk it. They're doing shit where even now they're still like to this day. I remember when South Park aired. I remember Bigger, Longer, Uncut, Team America. And now I'm in my 30s, and it's like they're still fucking daring the president to cancel their show, and they're just always they're pushing the envelope. Always, they're not bored of it, and it's insane. I love those guys so much.
Yeah.
Man, this was a lot of fun, Caleb. I appreciate you coming on. I really do. And if you can send me that link, I would not hate you for it. I'll tell you that much.
To what? To Tommy Pistol or to?
For Tommy Pistol, yeah.
I'll see if I have. I'm sure I have it at my office on a hard drive or something from when I cut it. That movie's pretty wild. I'm surprised it didn't get a little more notice. It was very weird and real gross. But parts of it, you'll see it. It's that's an anthology too. It's 3 shorts that.
I really badly want to watch it. It's just very hard to find. It doesn't surprise me that it's hard to find. But
yeah,
I personally cannot.
It's got a very weird vibe to it because Aramis, Tommy Pistol, he worked in porn, and most of the people that he got to help with that movie were porn people. So, like his camera guy and his lighting guy and some of the actors and stuff. So it has a very weird feel. Like it feels like you're watching porn just because it looks like porn and it's lit like porn, but it's not porn. And at times it's like real over the top, like trauma growth. But then there's this very kind of deadly serious, heartfelt stuff with his wife that's autobiographical. Like he was kind of breaking up with his wife at the time, and he was filming these scenes with his real life wife where they were kind of improving, but they were talking about their real life. It's hard to explain. It's a rough watch in the right way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's directed any. I mean, he's directed adult stuff, but I don't think he's gone on to make it. He acted in that new. Well, it's not new anymore, but it never came out, so it'll be new when it comes out. The movie that the Soska sisters made, where I forget what it's called. They made it like 4 or 5 years ago, and it never came out. Where the Jen and Sylvia Soska made this movie, and one of them stars in it with him, and it's just the two of them in a hotel room doing weird like S&M mind torture stuff. It's a weird movie. I get why it didn't come out, not because it's not good, but just because like I can't imagine many distributors seeing it and being like, yeah, let's put this out. I'm sitting all like, what the fuck is this? I don't.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot. It's very, like I said, the perverseness of all of it. Those are the movies I enjoy. Where it's, I can't believe this went somewhere, and I can't believe this person passed this, and how the hell did this make it to TV or screen or anything? And I hope we continue that because those movies are important. And I think it's funny when people like nowadays, everything's gross, everything's gay, everything's that's like no, things have been gay for a long time.
Yeah, they have.
The Wire had Omar on it, who was like a fucking super badass black man who was gay, and then Troma. I don't know, maybe I'm just used to it, but Troma was like LGBTQ everywhere. I was like, things have been gay for a very long time, man. I don't know what you're missing out on. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. This is not new. It's not propaganda. You just avoided it for this long. I'm the fucking weirdo, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was super fun. I'm looking forward to just putting this out there, and looking forward to the stuff you're working on, and keep it up.
Thanks.
I really, 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 really appreciate you coming on. Like I said,
yeah,
big fan.
Thanks for having me.
This was awesome. So Anything that you
Uh,
want to plug and anything at all, please. This is your time. Take up as much as you need.
no,
I
I
know
got
we've kind of already plugged it all in there.
I got nothing at the moment really. I know Liam. You know Liam Regan. He did Eating Miss Campbell and My Bloody Banjo. He's a trauma guy too. He's done he did two features that were great, and he has a distribution company, and he's supposedly putting out Blu-ray editions of both of my movies, but I don't know when those are coming out, so I can't really
That'd be
plug
awesome.
I can't plug them yet, but
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to when that does happen. I will be grabbing both, to be honest. So that's
awesome.
really cool, and I'm glad to hear that that's coming. And again, just super appreciative. Thank you for coming on, Caleb.
Of course.